This one night, 50 called me up, and they got him on the phone. Me and him was just talking. He was talking about old time shit. Sit down with Black Hands, sit down with with Puff Kids, the whole Puff situation, and this documentary that he's going to be.
Diddy really screwed up, and I'm not referring to his criminal trial, which has him sitting in prison right now, but it has to do with something that happened right before he got arrested. If you've seen the Netflix documentary about Diddy, Diddy The Reckoning, which 50 Cent produced, there's some footage there that had never been seen before. This is a photographer that Diddy hired to follow him around and document his life. That footage ended up going to 50 Cent.
And maybe that's what Snoop went through. I don't know. But let the people know, because it was too early back then. Pac just had died.
How does one documentary meant to focus on a single man end up dragging half the music industry into suspicion without a single charge to back it up? And why did one name keep surfacing even though it was never mentioned in court, never listed in indictments, and never tied to any official investigation? Because that contradiction is where this story actually begins. And here's the part people miss. It started quietly, with a late-night call and nostalgia, old stories, old alliances, old wounds, the kind of conversations that usually stay private. But then a Netflix documentary dropped, produced by 50 Cent, and suddenly everything felt different. Not because of what it said outright, but because of what people believed it hinted at. The documentary centered on Sean Combs and the rise, power, and eventual legal downfall that led to his conviction and imprisonment. That much is confirmed. What came next, though, was not part of the film, but it became the loudest part of the conversation anyway. At the center of that noise was previously unseen footage, filmed by a photographer hired years ago to document Diddy's life, footage that later ended up in the hands of the production team and ultimately with 50 Cent. That alone was enough to spark speculation, but then came the rumors. People online began asking what else existed, what wasn't shown, and who else might appear in material that never made the final cut. And that's where it gets messy, because when information is incomplete, imagination rushes in to fill the gaps.
Check out this audio from Suge Knight. It's from his podcast with Dave Mays, and he's speaking on, Tupac and Snoop being cool, and how, after Tupac got killed, Snoop started hanging out with Diddy. And, he also speaks on how, Snoop, he did the Steve Harvey show with Diddy after Tupac got killed. Check this out.
Okay. Let's download right now.
Then you look at the scenario how everybody used Pac to make their stuff famous or make their project better. You got people who use their songs for Pac and tell them how much they love Pac, but they do songs for Puffy. You got Steve Harvey, old bitch ass. This motherfucker tell him, well, fuck Pac, according to everybody else. He brings Snoop and Puffy on there and say, these are dudes who's running this in the East Coast, West Coast.
What's up, Snoop?
What's up, huh? Hey, whoa. Wait a minute, fellas here. Hold up. I know all about this East Coast, West Coast rivalry thing here, but we in Chicago now. This rivalry stuff, we got to stop it, man. We stop that. We stop a lot of this violence.
Yo, Steve, check this, man. All that East Coast, West Coast stuff is a bunch of media hype. It's been my dog from day one, you know what I'm saying? It's all good between me and him. That's my peoples.
Well, that's what we came in for. We came in to light it up and ride it up. We make music to Andrew.
Now, Pac, if you love Pac so much, how you with the motherfucker everybody say got something to do with the first get down that happened to Pac in New York, then the second one.
What you think about Suge comments? And I never asked you this before, but did you have an issue with Snoop hanging out with Diddy after Tupac got killed?
I always felt that was wrong. I'm gonna just keep it real. I'm talking about from that. Like now, okay, you know what I mean? I'm 46, Snoop probably early 50s. If he figured out now, he might go by the opinion that, okay, Puffy had nothing to do with Pac. We grown now. If he want to be his friend, no problem. But back then, that was just awkward. You know what I mean? And the reason why it was awkward to me that I never even like it because you knew how Pac felt about this individual. You know what I mean? Even if you don't agree with him, you probably could have said, you know what, I probably ain't gonna come out, publicly with this because until things clear up. So I really know I could be certain that, they didn't have nothing to do with Pac. But it's like, it was no, okay, it is what it is. So that I never really respected that back then.
So you had an issue with it. You didn't like it.
Never really liked it. It just was a strange look because you was Pac boy. You know what I mean? Puffy, it's clear they had some issues with Pac. And Pac died, and all of a sudden you chilling with Puffy. Back then, it just, okay, now you can say what you want. You go all grandfathers, I guess. You know what I mean? That's different now. But back then, I think it was weird. It was tasteless. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like you really had that much love for Pac. You could have just, you know what I mean? Unless he pressured them or like questioned Puffy, like, yo, what's up with this? What's up with that? Then you could say, you know what I mean? No problem.
Within days of the release, social media stopped focusing on the documented evidence that led to a conviction and shifted toward theories. Silence was reframed as fear. Distance was reframed as guilt. And long-standing industry relationships were suddenly treated like proof of something darker. Names that were never referenced in court filings began trending alongside allegations that were never tested, never verified, and never backed by records. One of those names was Snoop Dogg. Here's what's confirmed and what's not. Snoop Dogg has not been charged. He has not been indicted. He has not been named in any court documents tied to Diddy's case. No investigators have identified him as a person of interest. Those are facts. What fueled the speculation instead was history, selectively replayed and reframed under new spotlight. Old audio resurfaced, including past podcast discussions and prison interviews involving Suge Knight, where long-standing grievances were aired again. None of this was new. These were decades-old disputes, revived and presented as if they carried new meaning simply because the timing had changed. The implication was subtle but powerful, that association during a turbulent era meant responsibility for everything that followed. But that assumption has never held up in court, and it still doesn't now. Interview. One recurring clip in particular was used repeatedly. Conversations about Tupac, about friendships, about who appeared with whom after his Ed, and how those optics felt at the time. In context, those comments reflected personal resentment and unresolved rivalry, not evidence of wrongdoing. Even within those interviews, the speakers often acknowledged uncertainty, saying outright that they did not know what actually happened, only how it looked to them emotionally. That distinction vanished online, where opinion quickly hardened into accusation. And then came the missing footage narrative. A former bodyguard suggested that not everything had been included in the documentary. That single comment exploded. Suddenly, unnamed videos were said to exist. Flash drives were rumored. Entire storylines were imagined. None of it confirmed. No files authenticated. No contents verified by authorities. Even families allegedly connected to those claims publicly denied their validity. Still, the rumor persisted, because repetition can feel like confirmation if you hear it often enough.
So, like I believe somebody mentioned that they seen a video with me and the dude Prodigy or one of the dudes from my deep, as if I was with. They don't know the backdrop of that. I went to his hotel room ready to fight. Like, bro, I'll fight everybody in that room one-on-one. Even if I lose, it doesn't matter. The Outlaws was with me. My homie Tiny, the Mexican homie, was with me. I didn't go there and say, let me get in a video with these guys. I went there knocking on their door. Doom, doom, doom. Tell them dudes to come out. What's up with y'all? What's up with you and Pac? You got a problem with Pac? Because we could just fight like man to man, face to face, and then shake hands. That was my approach with them. But when they told me they didn't have no problem, I don't mind being with you. You know what I mean? I don't mind shaking your hand because they told me they had love for Pac. So that's different. You know what I mean? If he come out and say, well, I already, I questioned Puffy about it. I believe that he didn't, he loved Pac. That's my opinion. I can move the way I want to move. So when people try to, I noticed somebody, I think on your page do that. Well, Napoleon was in the video with Mobb Deep. They don't know how I got in that video with Mobb Deep. You know what I mean? I pulled up on them but I'm the type of person, I never been no bully type of person. You know what I mean? If I talk to a person like a man and they tell me face to face, look, I got love for Pac, I'm comfortable to know if I can look in their eyes and if I believe what they said, I have the right to say, okay, no problem. I believe you. You know what I mean? And maybe that's what Snoop went through. I don't know. But let the people know because it was too early back then. Pac just had died. You know what I mean? Like he had the right to say, the reason why I'm rolling with Puffy, I questioned him about my homie. He gave me this answer. So then he did what he had to do. But it just, you know what I mean? I never really agree with that, to be honest. The same way I couldn't be on the stage with him. when they wanted to do that tribute, I just couldn't do it. Like, I really felt in my heart.
The documentary itself never claimed to be an indictment of the entire industry. Its focus was narrow by design. It followed one individual, his documented actions, the structures of power around him, and the legal process that resulted in a conviction. According to the creators, only material supported by records and verifiable sources was used. Claims that content was intentionally withheld to protect others remain disputed and unproven. Here's the contradiction that rarely gets discussed. After the documentary aired, Snoop Dogg didn't disappear. He didn't deactivate accounts. He didn't issue panic denials or cryptic statements. He stayed publicly active, posting about music, business, and life as usual. He even openly supported 50 Cent, the same producer behind the documentary that allegedly put him at risk, which directly undermines a theory that he was afraid of exposure.
He was doing a documentary thinking he was going to come out triumphant.
See, I didn't know that's how this started, is he started filming himself and getting this footage because he thought he was going to beat everything. Okay,
Diddy
that makes sense. Okay.
has a relationship
With Netflix. I knew that.
with
Ted Sarandis. I saw that. Yes. Okay.
and he's filming it there. But of course, when you get, obviously it wasn't a clean sweep on the prosecutor's side, but you're still going to prison.
Yeah.
He basically kind of scraps it. It's not also Netflix is saying, because they commissioned it, right? Netflix is saying, all right, cool, just turn over what you got. And what we'll do, we'll make it what it is because we're just following reality. Diddy's like, well, hold on now. If I lost the case, I'm down to still do it with you, but I got to be able to control it. Now, Diddy was probably going to kind of shape this doc to make it look like, hey, this was malicious prosecution. They kind of went really hard at me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a perfect guy, but I am a good guy.
Yeah.
And Diddy was like, I need to be able to craft it. And Netflix was like, no, you're not. And he's like,
well, my question is, did he sign the footage over to Netflix so they own it?
Mm-mm.
Like, how were they able to do this without his?
No, but he didn't pay for it. So essentially, they're calling it a payment error.
Oh.
So essentially, the deal falls apart, or he's like, we're not going to do this.
So awkward.
And the people who did the work that have all this footage, they're like, so wait, you told us to film because this is going to be on Netflix. Now you're saying Netflix doesn't exist, and we're not getting paid because Diddy was going to pay with Netflix money. And Netflix realized this, and they went to the filmers and said, hey.
The documentary itself never claimed to be an indictment of the entire industry. Its focus was narrow by design. It followed one individual, his documented actions, the structures of power around him, and the legal process that resulted in a conviction. According to the creators, only material supported by records and verifiable sources was used. Claims that content was intentionally withheld to protect others remain disputed and unproven. Here's the contradiction that rarely gets discussed. After the documentary aired, Snoop Dogg didn't disappear. He didn't deactivate accounts. He didn't issue panic denials or cryptic statements. He stayed publicly active, posting about music, business, and life as usual. He even openly supported 50 Cent, the same producer behind the documentary that allegedly put him at risk, which directly undermines a theory that he was afraid of exposure.
To look at this through the prism of a modern-day rhetorical genius, we're talking about the one, the great, the 50 Cent. All right. This guy's skill at rhetoric is absolutely next level. And this totally ties in with, how he famously is a big fan of Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Now, rhetoric with a capital R, I can just give you the definition of that. That's basically public speech, particularly public speech that is to persuade. Any persuasive public speech is rhetoric, right? Now, we kind of break that down into two subcategories of rhetoric with a lowercase r and dialectic. Rhetoric is essentially everything else. And really, what moves the needle with like 97% of people and 100% of groups, okay, is, in fact, rhetoric with the lowercase r. So again, stuff like this, 50 Cent is an absolute master of. Basically, you know, he dropped this doc, this 50, this Sean Puffy Combs doc, and it's just kind of set the internet on fire. It's beating out Stranger Things. Like, it's a wild ride to watch, right? And one of the things that he does is he breaks down Diddy's character on Diddy's own term.
Another layer that added fuel was the way rhetoric works in modern media. 50 Cent is known for understanding how narratives spread, how attention moves, and how controversy amplifies reach. That doesn't invalidate the documentary's content, but it does explain why the internet reactions spiral far beyond the scope of the film itself. When one powerful figure falls, people look sideways, not because evidence points there, but because chaos invites speculation. And then there's the legal reality that keeps getting drowned out. There are no court records referencing Snoop Dogg. There are no verified videos placing him in any criminal conduct. There is no ongoing investigation involving him. As of December 2025, there is no proof that he has been questioned by law enforcement in connection with this case. Those absences are not technicalities. In law, they matter.
Because he wanted them to, both Suge and Pac.
In the car?
They only Pac, and they don't Suge. So allegedly, they got paid $500,000. The $500,000 was paid to the guy on the right, all the way to the right. You see the guy on the right?
Corey.
He's the one allegedly that got the $500,000. And that money never went to Keefe D or anybody else. The guy on the left is the one that stole the chain, the chain, which was a Death Row Records chain. That's a way of saying I got your rapper's chain. Because if you were one of the guys, Death Row. So long story short, this whole thing is in recording that he said this. So what does Diddy do? Rob, can you pull up this song? It's a song called Black Rob, featuring Mark Curry and Mario Winans. If you can just type in lyrics, okay? So he gets $1 million. Can you go to the lyrics? And Diddy's in the lyrics when he gets started. Go a little bit lower. Boom.
See it in this game?
Can you type in the word in there, Rob? Nice guy. Type Control F, nice guy. Okay, right there. Look at it. It's 1999. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Been nice too long. I'm just going to start making y'all disappear. Man, first I'm going to take your records off the radio. Then I'm going to erase your social security number. You know, take your birth certificate out, flies. I'm going to do your whole effing family. Ain't nothing but mercy. And then, by the way, in the lyrics, he says, I'll drop $1 million on your head to erase you. Can you type in, I'll drop $1 million? Just put Control F. Just go to Google and type this out. I'll drop $1 million on your head. I'll drop $1 million on your head and just put Diddy next to it. Right there. See, it says Black Rob. What song came up?
Phrase.
I'll drop $1 million on your head. Erase you and your whole family, biatch.
Wow.
He's saying it in the song on what he did to get rid of.
What keeps resurfacing instead are the same allegations Suge Knight has made for years, often during periods of incarceration, often during highly publicized interviews, and always without corroborating evidence. These claims have been examined repeatedly over decades and have never resulted in charges. Snoop Dogg has consistently denied them, framing them as products of rivalry, financial disputes, and personal animosity. None of that is new. The only thing that changed was the algorithm. Repetition and evidence are not the same thing, but online they are often treated as interchangeable. The more a claim circulates, the more real it feels, even when no new information is added. Context disappears, timelines blur, and suddenly, long-resolved tensions are repackaged as breaking revelations.
For being out there and allowing Misha to come out there to make money, however she was doing it, to feed her family. He vowed down that it's like, yo, I ain't never f***ing with her again, and I ain't never f***ing with him again. Puff and Suge had a conversation behind the House of Blues about was we all right, and Tupac was alive. Tupac wasn't dead. So if it was a war, Suge ain't having no conversation with Puff about we good. I know he could be doing the Hoboken hustle, trying to fool a brother. But had he killed my man or something like that, I wouldn't have no conversation with Puff. I'd been like, yo, you know what y'all niggas done? You know what happened? And it wasn't no conversation like that, brother. It wasn't no conversation whereas that, Suge made Puff feel like I'm going to get you a payback for what happened to Jake. This was more so that Puff, for whatever reason, Suge, for whatever reason he was mad at Puff, and Puff, for whatever reason he was mad at Suge, it was between them two. It wasn't no whole East Coast wanted the West Coast dead, and the West Coast wanted East Coast to dead, because they still was going out, still chilling, still at places with each other. It was Bad Boy, and it was Death Row. It wasn't no East Coast and no West Coast. West Coast dudes were still coming out on the East Coast getting love. East Coast niggas were still going out on the West Coast getting love. It was Bad Boy versus Death Row. And that's what it was, bro. And it was because of the two CEOs. But Suge tried to straighten it out. I got to get at the Suge. The Death Row East Coast, the Death Row East was going to bring in Eric B. It was going to bring in Big D. And those brothers was from the East Coast. So now, they was looking for a representative to come to the meeting from Bad Boy so they could straighten out the between Pac and Big and Death Row and Bad Boy. And Puff is the one who refused. Puff is the one to refuse to send a representative or either come himself. And got mad at Zip and them because they were in the Mirage on 57th Street partying with Suge Knight. Got mad at them. And Zip hung up the phone on him behind that.
It's also worth noting what didn't happen. Law enforcement did not expand charges outward. Prosecutors did not name additional defendants. Investigators did not announce new suspects based on documentary fallout. If credible evidence existed, especially at this scale, silence would not be the response. Action would be. Instead, what we saw was selective attention. Posts highlighting normal activity were ignored. Clips contradicting the narrative were dismissed. Only content that reinforced suspicion was amplified. That's how the idea of disappearance took hold, even though it wasn't real.
So, I don't know where you get all the extras from, but they had a conversation at the hospital and all that. That's absolutely not true. Say less, if you know what I mean. But instead of just saying less, since I've been in here, Snoop and other people been having people trying to bail the guy out, Keefy D, because he talking too much. Raising them trying to do stuff for Puffy because they say he talking too much. They even had somebody talk to me and say, hey, you can help him get free. I said, look, I don't have nothing to do with none of that, and I'm not leaving prison to go to Nobody County Jail. To the point they were saying, well, you can't leave and sacrifice a little bit in the county jail to stop that black man from getting life? Hell no. I ain't wishing bad on him at all because I don't want to see nobody go to prison. And like I told you last time, as I find out more details about certain things, I probably would go to the Vegas County Jail If me and Keefy D with Sellies, we have a good conversation after I give him, six upside his head, another 6 in his body, and another 2. But yeah, that's different. It didn't happen with Snoop didn't go to the hospital.
The difference between Diddy and Snoop in this story is not fame or influence. It's documentation. One case resulted in a conviction supported by testimony and records. The other exists almost entirely in online conjecture. That distinction is critical, especially in an era where public opinion often moves faster than facts. None of this means questions shouldn't be asked, or that history shouldn't be examined. It means conclusions should follow evidence, not precede it. When association replaces proof, anyone who stood nearby becomes vulnerable to the same accusations, regardless of reality.
Just got out the gym, doing my workout boxing. Shit, you right. History would repeat itself. Cause nigga, you wasn't the only nigga in the room, nigga. You wasn't by yourself. There was other people in the room too. I'm not gonna say no names because, like you said, we don't talk. So why you on here talking? Let that go, man. And as far as Snoop and Corrupt writing my album, you ask them niggas that. Them niggas ain't wrote my album. Corrupt helped me with Do You See? Snoop helped me with This DJ. Other than that, everything else I wrote. So that's where you wrong at again. And as far as the tough guy, do you recall when we was at the World Club and then said Death Row and NWA? Who fired on that? Me. When you was at the Comedy Store, fighting that little buff ass at the Comedy Store, who saved your motherfucking ass? Me and C-Style. So what have I done to you? For you to launch out at me? Look, don't get mad at me, man. I ain't never done nothing to you. I wasn't signed to you.
So when you strip away the reaction videos, the recycled clips, and the speculation loops, what's left is surprisingly straightforward. No charges, no confirmed footage, no investigation. Just a familiar cycle where a real conviction creates a vacuum that rumors rush to fill. The real question isn't who will be accused next as this fallout continues, but whether facts will ever catch up to the narratives already cemented in people's minds, or if in the age of viral storytelling, repetition alone has become enough to decide guilt before evidence ever appears.
In a documentary, there's a couple things I'll share with you guys on what I took away from it. But Rob, maybe share the clip on how he got access to some of the footage of the documentary. Is this the one, Rob?
Yep.
Go for it.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day. Perhaps.
Combs' team firing back in a statement to NBC News, saying the Netflix so-called documentary is a shameful hit piece and that they relied on stolen footage that was never authorized for release. His team sending a cease and desist to Netflix.
That doesn't mean it's not true.
Of course.
But they relied on stolen footage, okay, is what they relied on. And then they ask about the history of 50 and him, issue that they've had. What's the one you just pulled up, Rob?
This is where they talk about the feud, and then I also have 50 Cent talking about Diddy's reaction to the documentary.
Yeah, that's so funny. That is so funny. But watch this one here. Go ahead, Rob.
How do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right? For 20 years, right? It's me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester. Like maybe you'll come play with me type of thing, right? And it's not personal.
I think it's important to also let people know that the show is not completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean. We weren't trying to just get the highlights, the salacious details, that the real goal was to storytell. And not everyone needed to have an allegation to be a part of this project.
Yeah. I mean, so that's that part, right? The fact that he the feud with the two of them. Hey, let me take you shopping. Like you say that to a girl in 50s, like, what are you talking about? Take me shopping. How do you ever flip a mind? You want to take me shopping? And then last but not least, Rob, the other clip you have of 50 is talking about how he thinks Diddy's going to like this documentary. Go ahead, Rob.
If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time.
She can't even hold it.
Because you'll see people saying that. I mean, he may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but he knows